Welcome to garden hauling. Today's video I want to show you some fruit trees that I intend to plant. So I'm going to plant, let me see if I can bring them over. I'm going to plant a Alberta peach tree, and this is the Alberta peach tree. It's in an easy pot container. And then I'm going to plant also a Bartlett pear tree. This is the Bartlett pear tree. And I know it looks a little rough around the edges. And it's also in an easy pot container. It looks like I ordered these from Stark Brothers. They've been growing outside, so they've been subjected to the elements of the weather. But you can expect some of the leaves to be a little brown like these are. But the root system is really good, so that's the important thing. So the first one I want to talk about before I plant them, I want to tell you a little bit about the Bartlett pear tree. So the Bartlett pear tree is for zones 5 through 8, and I am in zone 8, so this plant is good. It also needs about 800 chill hours. So the 800 chill hours simply means that a plant has to stay between a temperature of 32 degrees to 45 degrees Fahrenheit for 800 chill hours, which is a little over a month. And this is very important because a fruit tree has a hormone, and this hormone is responsible for dormancy. So when the plant stays at a temperature between 32 degrees and 45 degrees Fahrenheit, it breaks this hormone down. We want this hormone to be broken down because when it gets broken down, then this will allow the fruit tree to bud out and to form flowers and to give us that beautiful green foliage that we're used to seeing. If a plant doesn't get the 800 chill hours, then it will be irregular when it comes to budding. So this one is a semi-dwarf, so it will grow to a height of 12 to 15 feet and about 11 feet wide. This plant does need a cross-pollinator, meaning that it needs another pear tree planted nearby. So it needs to be planted at least 50 feet from another pollinator. This plant also requires a soil pH of 6.0 to 7.0. It needs well-drained soil. It will grow fruit in 4 to 6 years. So I want to give you a little fun fact about this Bartlett pear tree. So the Bartlett pear tree originated in Europe. It was brought to America. It was grown and sold by a man named Bartlett, and he lived in Massachusetts. So he bought and sold these plants, and so these plants were named after him, and they became known as the Bartlett pear tree because Bartlett was the one that was growing and selling them. Another thing about this pear tree is that it has these fluffy white blooms from mid to early spring. Once the fruit comes, they will be green fruit, then they will turn to a light golden yellow color. Now we'll move on to the peach tree. So this is a dwarf tree. It grows a little bit smaller than the pear tree. This one will be about 8 to 10 feet in height and about 10 feet wide. It is compatible for zones 5 through 8. That it does not need another pear tree in order for it to, pollinate itself because it's self-pollinating. But if you really wanted to, you could plant another peach tree nearby if you want to increase the size of your fruit. But it's not necessary. This peach tree does require sun. It requires well-draining soil. It requires a pH of 6.0 to 7.0. So this one takes about 2 to 4 years to bear fruit. But I can wait. Thing about this one is this is a beautiful plant. In the springtime it has these blossoms, and they are a stunning pink color. So this is a very beautiful plant in my opinion when it starts to bloom in the springtime. I want to give you a fun fact about this peach tree. It originated in Marshallville, Georgia. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Marshallville, Georgia. So it was grown by this man named Samuel H. Rump, and he named it after his wife, and her name was Clara Alberta Moore. So that's how it became known as the Alberta peach tree. So I also intend to plant a blackberry bush, and this is the blackberry bush that I intend to plant. So this one is called a sweetie pie blackberry bush. And the thing I like about it is it's thornless. It's compatible for growing in zones 5 through 9. It requires a pH of 5.5 to 6.8. It requires full sun and it blooms all summer. Great. It reaches a height and a width of 4 to 6 feet. Another thing I wanted to mention about this blackberry bush is it has a perennial root system, which most raspberry bushes do, but this one has biennial canes or branches. So in other words, this one will bear fruit on the second year's growth. The fruit will ripen in 2 to 4 weeks. When you pick the fruit on these blackberries, you have to pick them when they're fully ripened. And the reason I say that is because you know how sometimes you'll pick fruit and it might not be fully ripened and you'll let it sit for a while so that it can continue to ripen. Well, this one doesn't do that, so you have to pick it when it's fully ripened, because once you take it off the vine, it doesn't continue to ripen anymore. So I'm going to plant my fruit trees and I'll show you how I do it.